Is it that gaming is a dying genre? Or is it that people are only watching the content of people at the very top? For example, let's take Otter into account. He's got almost 100,000 subscribers. Some of his videos basically get no traction. They aren't being pushed by Respawn. They aren't being pushed by the community. It almost seems as if even I know this sounds very conspiracy theoryist, but the idea that a lot of his videos that are promoting Apex do better than the videos that are kind of critiquing Apex in a way or pointing out problems, it kind of makes you think like, okay, there's some higher power here that's making it so that these videos that are critiquing Apex are not getting traffic. Or my first theory is true, which is that gaming is dying and or the people at the top are getting the views. But then when you go to the people at the top, like say it's Timmy, Imperial How, NRG Asu. Let's take Asu for example. You start to realize he's not getting that many views either. He's getting substantially more than the next example that I'm going to bring up. And he's by no means doing bad with his content, but just the viewership is low. Why is it that the Apex community has such low viewership? This example I'm about to make is not out of no hate, but Ninjala, she has 147,000 followers on Twitch. She could get 11,000 viewers in a stream. Then how come her YouTube videos get such low viewership? It's like she pulls in like 1,000 views these days. Like 2 weeks ago, it was like 3,000, and then as of this week and the end of last week, it's been going down and it's plateaued at like 1,000 views to maybe 3,000 views. But she has 147,000 followers. How does that make any sense? It really just doesn't make any sense. And it makes me question the Apex community. I just don't see it. I don't see how such a game with billions of dollars, like literally, last year they flexed in the news, like instead of flexing that they were gonna spend billions on new servers, they just flexed that they grossed billions of dollars in revenue. And it's like, so there's something really wrong with games that are connected to EA and Respawn. It's almost like they're just a company that produces toxic communities in games. Let's take Titanfall for example. They literally completely just gave up on it. Like, it's so sad. Well, whoever is at the top, they're definitely not helping anyone perceive their games as any more than a cash grab. Especially with the fact that Apex Legends players get LTMs only along with collection events. It's like you genuinely do not give a single shit about the quality of life of the people who play this game on a daily basis or even on just a regular basis. You genuinely do not care about their quality of life, and it's never been more obvious until like you just take a step back and you look at all the collection events and tying the LTMs to them. An LTM is a limited time mode. It's like, if you want the game to be fun, then you would literally always be rotating out LTMs, especially with the amount of LTMs that exist and the fact that they're so easy to put into the game. You don't even have to update your game to enable LTMs. it's kind of sad. It's like something's wrong. Are the Respawn developers being worked by EA like a fucking sweatshop? Is that why? Like, do they genuinely not have any drive to create a quality experience or like a good game? Why? Why is Apex Legends the way that it is? Why is it getting so little views? How is it making so much money, yet the community doesn't support anyone? Doesn't make any sense. Most reasonable and rational people, we've come to realize that the Apex community is extremely toxic. For example, in-game, while voice chat was working, there were so many videos of like talking to racist, talking to fucking misogynist, fucking talking to misandrist, feminazis. It's just on all walks of life. There were toxic people. You got toxic little kids, toxic adults. Apex Legends drew in a toxic crowd. And honestly, there's no one to blame except for Respawn. If they wanted the game to not be toxic and they wanted it to have a positive public outlook, they would have listened to the player base so many times when they were like big calls that really just created so much resentment and disdain. For example, for the first couple of seasons, there were a lot of things that were introduced and then instantly taken away. And whether it was because it was broken, overpowered, or anything, it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, it's in the past. But that really affected people's outlook on the game. They figured that the Respawn developers were people that they can't trust to be straightforward. Honestly, I felt the same way. Like, let's just talk about the Skullpiercer rounds. It's literally coming back next season. Skullpiercer is coming back next season, and it's being added to the Sentinel, I believe. Now, no, 30-30 repeater. Now, that goes along with what I was saying. I understand that the game isn't in all our hands as a player base, but that doesn't change the fact that it's intended for the player base. So, with that part being covered, like the wishy-washy, back and forth, flip-floppy that we keep hearing from the developers, that created enough resentment in the player base. But not only that, you just see that it seems like on the content side of things, there's a lot of toxic communities. The content creators have all come to the conclusion that Reddit is the worst place to be. Twitter is terrible. There's wars between content creators and casuals. And then casuals always going back and forth. It's because everyone thinks that they know best. And not only that, it's because everyone has an attachment to something that they enjoy. Now, I can understand that a content creator or a professional is going to look at a casual's opinion on the game, and if it's not a reflection of the content creator's gameplay or lifestyle, quality of life in the game, if it doesn't reflect what they experience, of course they're going to disagree with it. Like, I think it was like back in season 7 or something. That's when you would always see clips of Hal or like Sweet. They would always be trying to like hammer in the idea that the competitive experience and the high ranked experience is nothing like the casual experience or the low ranked experience. They were trying to hammer in that idea so much. I feel like that's somewhat what created a divide But that's not what's really responsible. I feel as if what's really responsible is the Respawn developers like lack of a commitment to fixing the experience, to making the experience when you play the game fun. There's been too much of a, I'm just gonna say a quote, so bear with me here. You can take the steps as they come, but if you do, you'll probably get lost. That can be applied to the Respawn developers in the sense that every season you have a product that you need to put out. But if that's all that you're really caring about, what's gonna come next, if you're so concerned about the next step that you can't see that you're falling on the step that you're already on, or if you can't see that at the end of this staircase there's a caution wet floor, then there's no point in using the stairs. You know what I mean? I feel as if Respawn got too into developing the game further, that they literally cannot and will not fix it now. Off the rip, here's proof of that. Things like the Loba bracelet, things like the tweets that the developers put out. For example, there was this one developer who came from Halo to help work on Apex Legends, and he deadass said that the reason why he thinks that there's so many problems is because he has seen that the Respawn developers keep on trying to patch all these little leaks instead of going to the very top floor to resolve the issue with the very top floor where the water tower is. That's where the leak is. That's where the source of the problem is. But they're trying to patch every single floor before they solve the problem. So the problems keep reoccurring because they aren't solving the source of the problem. And that goes to show that what I'm saying is kind of based. For example, the Mirage problem. Since he's been released, Mirage's decoy has just been wonky. It could be sent out and work perfectly fine, or it could be sent out and just instantly fucking die, or it could run out for like 15 feet, 3 meters ish, and then just kills over in the middle of the road without even having been shot or disturbed by anything. It just dies for some reason. Like, those types of problems, I understand that they're small, but they do go to show that the game has extremely low integrity. Because if you say, we're going to solve the problem with the source code, okay, you go and you solve the problem, but then the next season, there's still a bunch of small little problems. That kind of just makes us think that there was nothing being done about the problem. And I understand that just because the solution doesn't work doesn't mean that you aren't trying. But you have to be able to accept that that's how it looks. And that's the result of you trying. And you failed. And you keep failing. I think that if we're not going to be able to stop the bugs, if we're not going to be able to stop the glitches and the issues, that there are simpler fixes to improving the quality of life and the experience of everyone. They're pretty obvious too. I don't want to go on a big rant about solos, but that's definitely a part of it. What do the Respawn developers know that we do not? In truth, while they are developing the game's been out for 3 years. And I feel like we've been adamant that there needs to be a better experience for solo players. Because, in truth, you can't always rely on your team. And in truth, you don't need a team to have a good time. They're definitely catering towards the new player base and the player base that has teammates consistently, like streamers and content creators and professionals. But here's one thing that you keep noticing. While those types of players are adamant that they should continue down this team-based route, you keep seeing them complain about their teammates, whether their teammates are doing too good for them or whether their teammates are doing lackluster. It's just strange because when you look at the people who are actually doing good in Apex, they all have a mentality that the game needs to have a better solo experience. They all have a mentality that they don't need help from anyone and that they could handle it solo. Now, is that because they don't want a team? Or is that because they realize that your team is sometimes a hindrance? What does that mean? Well, in fact, I've queued in with teammates a lot. And I realized while I was queuing with them and doing bad, a lot of the time you're trying to cater to your teammates. You want to help them. You want to play Hollywood hero. Go get that guy's banner. Oh, you're going to stay and you're going to try to cover this person because that's your boy. You want to do good for him. It's a team-based game. When you play Apex that way, you'll find very shortly that you don't succeed. Not that playing with your teammates is a hindrance, but playing for your teammates, that most definitely is. There's no one getting 4Ks, no one getting 3Ks that was going out of their way to help out their randoms. As a matter of fact, going out of your way to help out your randoms will often get you killed. That's why you hear all these top content creators, whenever it comes down to it, they will literally repeat what I said, don't play Hollywood hero. And they will go and play the rest of the game out by themselves, start doing more damage, start picking up more kills, they get better loot. When you're playing by yourself, there's no one around you to take all the stuff that you need. When you're playing by yourself, you're not wasting time trying to provide for other people. In truth, there needs to be a better solo experience because denying that you end up solo is just not working. If Respawn was ignorant to the fact that the team-based aspects of the game were causing problems, then when they did this new control mode that was supposed to be better than the last one, there wouldn't have been a 2-minute abandonment penalty if you leave. It's quite strange that Respawn is so nonchalant about acknowledging the fact that some people are literally just not capable of getting along with others. Especially when you say it's skill-based matchmaking, but it's really just based on your win rate and loss rate. Because skill should be determined by your statistics. If they're tracking your statistics, then that's where they should be determining your skill. But obviously that's not true. You run into 2 level 100s who are a duo just because they feel as if throwing you in with them, you guys could do some good together. But no. If you're a good player, if you're a leader type of player, then you know that that's like the most dreaded experience in the world. Running into a pre-made duo when you queue into trios. Why? It's because they stick together. They literally will not help you. They would literally sit there from 30 meters away and watch you die trying to 1v3. You knocked 2 out of the squad and there's 1 up. They would sit there and watch you get thirsted and watch that person pick up both of the teammates before they came into action. They It doesn't matter how good you are. You could have 100,000 kills, a 4K, a Pred badge, and a 20 bomb. Those two people will literally keep their friendship. They will stick to what they know, which is that they have each other. It's not a good experience. There really needs to be solos added, or just do like a 1v1 arenas mode, because the experience is so lackluster and so many people who are actually good at the game have had enough and they're about ready to quit. So I think that it's time that you focus on the solo experience becoming better.